also putting the audience in a very unique position of experiencing what the killer is doing and thinking was a really disturbing and interesting idea.
Were you actually there, though? I mean,
yeah.
Was your shooting schedule like 3 days and the rest of it was all just voiceover?
No. No, I was there
originally.
Yeah.
Originally, we were lucky enough to have Elijah, and we we'd say, look, if we don't see him, then we can get Elijah to be in the movie, and he'll show up a few days, and we'll show him in those reflections, and that was what the original plan was, and I think Elijah understood immediately, and thank God he loves what he does in movies and the genre and every project I think that you're involved in, because he ended up showing up every day regardless of what it was, just to be able to give lines and to I think he recognized quickly that his character would live through the eyes, through the performances of other characters, of the women and of the other people. So it was important that he be there. And I think that eventually, since we did this whole thing in a POV, there was a real marriage that happened between him and the cameraman and the operator. And they sort of meshed.
There's a real collaboration.
Real collaboration, and it was it was wonderful to watch actually this sort of choreographed dance between them, where Elijah would pull him, and they would sort of work together to make the character live through his eyes.
How much did you need to learn in terms of cinematography and blocking that you didn't know already?
Nothing to really learn. I mean, we would essentially block every scene out in a traditional way with the cast, without the operator, and Maxime would watch the whole thing and then figure out where then, wherever Frank was, is where the camera would go, and then we'd have to figure out if that logistically would actually work out technically. So I didn't really have to learn too much. My relationship with him was sometimes performance-based, sometimes like a speed of movement or a change in direction, things like that. But I just wanted to. But it was a collaboration. It was a really fun process.
Did you watch any of those old, like Lady in the Lake, or I think Bogart did one also. Dark Passage, of course, yeah. Did you watch any of those?
Peeping Tom was a movie that I loved and was very familiar with. I hadn't actually seen those other two, but that was a reference point. Peeping Tom.
In some circles, this is a pretty iconic title. Daunting at all?
Completely. I wasn't willing to do it unless we could figure out a way to do it in an original sort of way. And hence the POV eventually, came out of long hours of discussion and how we can try and bring something different to the genre audience, who is really, who are major cinephiles, and who are the people who care more about movies and who would eventually end up being, blogging. I mean, as soon as it was announced that we were making a movie, it was like, how dare you, remake Maniac, a classic in horror. So I knew right away that if we were going to attempt to do this, it would have to be with a fresh take, or give something new.
When that happens, do you completely stay away from online and message boards and things, or do you actually listen to what fans are saying?
I mean, that's a tough question, because you're curious. You're curious, but you don't want to be influenced too much. I think that the funny thing is, when I read, I sort of agree with what most people are saying. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So it's not something that I don't really know. I tend to listen more to the blogs of fans rather than read critiques. Critiques I read for fun. Blogs, and I read to see what what spikes people's interest and what turns them on, and see if our tastes are somewhat.
What about you, Elijah? Do you read what your fans say about you, especially with the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings?
Not so much. I mean, I read film blogs as a fan and an enthusiast of film and certainly genre blogs, things like that. Mainly for news, not so much for what people have to say. So much, or in terms of fans. I read it mainly for different writers and different people's.
And what about Twitter or Facebook? Do you stay in touch with your people, like your fans?
I mean, I'm on Twitter. I don't tend to write a lot of individual tweets. I tend to retweet a lot of people based on common interests, film and music, I think.
What about, because I saw, I'm sorry, last one. I saw Facebook has a new page that is verified, and I saw yours today. Is that true?
Yes, there's an
Okay.
official Facebook page. It's more. Yeah, there is. There is. I also have a private page that's my own.
Elijah, can you talk about what you really wanted to bring to that character? Because this is dark. I've never seen you do anything like this before.
Yes.
That's why I liked it. Talk about that.
Well, it was just important to me that the character come to life in a believable way. I think the challenge was creating the character in a way that I guess for me the biggest challenge was to just not fall into cliché. I think when it comes to like a serial killer or a villain in the film, it's easy to sort of fall into familiar areas or tropes in the creation of that character. So it was really important that he be realized in a realistic and believable way. And then also, finding the balance between that element of the character and then also his humanity and his vulnerability, and not making that overly sympathetic. So it was a fun character to fully realize, and in doing it, it was also a very multifaceted performance because a good portion of it's off camera, some of it's very specifically on camera, and then all of it is vocal. And so it's a character in 3 parts. So it was really fun to create the character from all those different perspectives and have it all kind of work and mesh together.
What about your interest in going dark? I mean, I think Wilford is one of the darkest things on television.
Yeah.
And there's this, and then you just produced Toad Road.
Yes. Well, we executive produced it.
Are you okay? You seem to be going through kind of a dark thing.
That's fun. That's funny. It's circumstantial, I think.
It's been there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been a fan of the genre forever. So it's really, I suppose, representative of me as a whole for a long, long time. And it just so happens that a few of these things are kind of coalescing at around the same time. But Toad Road is an example of this. I've started a production company called Spectrovision that produces horror films. So that's a separate thing, and yeah, I suppose Wilfred's relatively dark, but it's also deeply funny. I mean, it's not just dark.
I would say it wasn't funny. Hugely dark.
It is. I guess maybe it's a coincidence, but I don't know. I think I'm moved by things that are I don't know, that I feel deeply and I'm excited about. And I don't know that I'm necessarily looking for a specific thing. So, as it pertains to the few dark things that are sort of percolating now, it's not that I'm looking for those things. Aside from the horror company itself, because that is obviously a venture, they just come into my life and I respond to it. And I think as an actor, I'm always looking for different experiences and ways to challenge myself. And Wilfred's a very good example of that because I've never done comedy before. And I think I'm also, really turned on by things that are quite different than anything we've seen, and Wilfred has a very unique and strange voice as a show, and I think I was excited about doing something that I've never seen on TV before. So
You're also behind
What
the
was
box.
your first reaction when you read script and when you had this production?
from Maniac,
Maniac, yeah. What you did about this guy?
it was
Oh my
exciting.
God.
I mean, look, there's a way to look at it from an intellectual perspective, which is that it's an interesting character study told through the killer's POV, and that's very exciting from a filmmaker standpoint. From a genre standpoint, there's also the nerd in me that's like, fuck yeah, I get to fucking, scalp, and it's incredibly grotesque, and I get to play a villain in a film, and I've grown up loving the genre, so there's also that part of it that was exciting to see. But it was reading it through the lens that you would rarely be seeing the character, and the fact that it was this very new take on a genre film that was very exciting.
And what about you casting America's Good Son as this horrible scout person?
I mean, it was great. It's exciting. It's certainly it's fun to destroy that image. To create a monster out of the person you love. Often actors, you're afraid that they carry their other roles or the image that they might bring into your project or something. And in this case, Well, I know that Elijah had a lot of range, and that wouldn't necessarily be the case. But if it did, if people ever thought of the other parts, and you know that he had played, then it would be that much more exciting for me to make a real, you know, horrible person out of him, and to destroy sort of that image. Somebody said to me after a screening in Cannes, they said, "I just felt like I saw my puppy run over by a car."
That's hilarious.
And I said, "That's good."
And how was
Please,
how,
please.
how was working and filming in downtown LA?
Downtown is beautiful, and it's absolutely stunning. And the images of downtown are gorgeous. You know, architecturally, it's stunning at night. It's vibrant in colors and it's beautiful. Logistically, it's a nightmare because you know it's downtown LA and a lot of TV shoots there, and they want a lot, and they get paid people a lot of money to do so. And so when we come with our little indie movies, they, you know, it's incredibly difficult. You know, and it means, you know, it's hard. There's a whole process, and so, you know. When you do low budget movies, it becomes hard, you know. But it's absolutely stunning and beautiful, and everybody loves movies and down there, and they help out. But you know, it's difficult.
Frank, how long was the shoot for?
The shoot was 20 days, 21
weeks,
days,
right?
20 days, 21 days.
Yeah.
Reggie, could you talk about this character is collecting things? So what yourself, what do you collect?
Certainly not scalps. What do I collect? I collect
Dead animals.
a lot of vinyl records. I'm a huge music fan, so I buy a lot of records. I used to collect toys and things. I don't really do that so much anymore. Records. That's primarily what I
What
collect.
about the Lord of the Ring ring? Where do you keep it? Because you have it, right?
I do have it. Yeah, it's in a box, in a sack, in a box, tucked away.
Oh, you don't put it.
No.
You mentioned
Yeah.
vinyl. Were you DJing for a while? Didn't you DJ Tiki No or something for a while?
I still do. Yeah.
At Tiki No?
No. All over the place.
I heard a great set just
At the
a week
Ace.
ago.
Yeah.
Ace in New York.
it was
Very
fun.
good. Very good.
What do you guys hope that an audience gets from the film?
Oh, that's my favorite question always.
What do you want
You
to
know, stay home. Don't leave your house. You know, it's like, you know, it's a complicated question because of this. You know, we are instilling fear in people. You know, and so I mean, obviously the primary thing is, you know, enjoy yourself, have fun, go on a ride. You know, for me, that's why I make a movie, so that you can, yes, primarily take some time off and go and enjoy something and participate in something you might not usually be a part of, and then that's a thrill, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, eliciting a visceral emotional reaction.
Visceral emotion, confronting death or killing, and without having to go through it. You know, it's a real you know, it's a ride. You know, it's a. But primarily, you know, I mean, and then if you want to try and go deeper in this movie, what is it? You know, take care of your children. Don't let the book. You know, don't, you know, nurture your children. You know. And I think beyond all that is what hit me. What hit me the first time that I saw the movie, and what I remember from the movie is, no matter what, we still have compassion for one another, and no matter how brutal this man might be, we still try and see the good side in people.
But that's innate in us, yeah.
That's innate in us, and even though this guy does these horrific things, these horrific acts, still we feel empathy and we go, maybe there's a chance. And I think that's very human. I'm a sort of a positive in that.
So
Along those lines,
the
that
character is so
goes
different
back
to
to,
you.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Also, although the characters is so different to you, do you find any similarities in this character or even Frodo?
Well, I mean, I think as an actor, you're always finding something that you can connect to that's based on your own experience. You know, that idea that you would play a character that doesn't embody anything of you is somewhat unrealistic, because you are only drawing on your own experience as a human being on the planet. So I think there is always some kernel of something that's relatable or understood about one's own experience within the context of another character.
So what would that be in this case of Frodo?
I don't know that I could articulate that.
Elijah, you also have a movie with Sasha Grey. What's the difference on that character? Because it kind of intrigues me.
Yeah, I've been asking the same question.
Tell me about the movie with Sasha. The film is called Open Windows. It's a thriller that takes place primarily on a computer screen. It is entirely on a computer screen. And basically my character in that is an innocent caught up in a scenario in which Sasha's character is kidnapped, and he is sort of made implicit, and therefore recognizes that and is trying to save her. So it's sort of like an action thriller, but on a computer screen.
Before they take you.
Yeah, it's awesome. And Nacho Vigalondo, an incredible Spanish director, who did Time Crimes. I'm sure.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.